This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter, and this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. My intro notes, like...
I was going to say, usually you have your little script up.
I do, but Welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find back episodes at ovpodcast.com, find the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, and you can also subscribe to the subreddit at r/obsessiveviewer. And if you want to help support the podcast, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, or you can simply leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It helps us out a ton and gets us higher in the search results for the highly competitive movie and TV genre of podcasts. And before we get started, just a brief announcement that next week I will be a guest on Submitted for Your Approval, a podcast about the Twilight Zone, hosted by Brandon Cruz of Apathetic Enthusiasm. So, yeah, check that out on anywhere podcasts are found, really. And so, this week on the podcast, though, we are discussing Independence Day Resurgence. And unfortunately, Tiny couldn't make it this week because he had some work things to go over. But fortunately, I'm here with a guest, Robert Fekkes.
Hello.
Hi.
Glad to be back.
I'm glad you're back, too, because otherwise it would have just been me.
That'd be fine. You got pizza, too.
Yeah, pizza.
R.I.P. Tiny. He's not dead.
He's not. He's just dead to us. No, he'll be back next week-ish. But anyway, so this week on the podcast, we're going to talk about Independence Day Resurgence and then go into some potpourri as usual. I do want to mention that I apologize for the lateness of the podcasts or the irregular schedules. I've been a little swamped with work and PopCon and all that stuff. So I have one PopCon episode that's supposed to be released that should be released before this episode. And then hopefully that means I will also have my anthology podcast back up and running on a normal schedule after this weekend. So, Fekkes, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back. It's always fun.
Nice. Yes, and glad to have you back. We saw you at PopCon.
That was a good time.
Yeah. How was your PopCon adventure?
It was free,
Right.
Turns out. For those of you who don't know, I mistakenly snuck into the venue. I did not know.
Mistakenly.
Well, it was.
Well, I'm just saying, mistakenly. It's like, I just walked into this building.
Well, hey, you know what? It's on them. Basically, what happened was I was looking for where you paid to get the tickets. There was a line of people going into an area I thought was the payment. The security guard gave me the head nod. I gave them the head nod back, and I walked in and I was in PopCon. So, it's on him. I'm not going to go back out there and rectify his mistake.
Right. Yeah. So, PopCon let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? You weren't allowed to, oh my god, I'm all over the place.
Unallowed guest?
Unallowed guest, sure.
Trespasser? Had one trespasser?
Right, had one trespasser.
I did purchase some items there, so it wasn't
that's
for
good.
loss.
What'd you buy?
I bought some Lego minifigs. I got Wolverine, Magneto, and... I got a third one. Who did I get? It was another X-Man. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
I slept since then and drank. So
right, sure, nice.
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
It was a custom.
Nice.
It was a custom Daredevil because apparently Daredevil's too violent for kids to play with.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I got a custom made Daredevil figure.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Good times.
Good haul. And you're very much into the Legos.
I am.
I say with no judgment.
You can judge all you want. I'm a 32-year-old man with thousands of dollars worth of Legos in his house. So.
Holy God. You admitted that. So anyway, no, that's awesome. And your Lego area is actually very impressive.
Yeah, that's right. It's a village.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a whole village, mix and matches.
What was the one you recently finished?
I just finished the Ghostbusters Firehouse.
Gotcha. Nice.
19 hours, 7 sessions.
Holy crap.
That's right.
That is impressive. We'll post pictures on the Facebook page.
It's my longest to date. The Death Star. The Death Star was bigger and more expensive, but the Firehouse had a lot more small pieces.
Really?
So yeah.
Okay. Do they only have the completed Death Star? They don't have like one that's...
No, that's incorrect. They have a completed Death Star, and the original Death Star got discontinued, and you can buy it for like $1,200 now.
Holy
But
crap.
yeah, there are two Death Stars, and I believe the Death Star I have is going to be discontinued this year.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, so it's funny. I have Arkham Asylum as well, and that's a $150 set you can't find anymore. And on eBay you can get it for like $400. So
Nice.
it's better than the stock market.
Yeah. There you go. That's that is very impressive. That's very expensive. It's such an expensive hobby.
It is an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
It is less expensive than like heroin, though. So
No, yeah, that's true. Podcasting is relatively cheap, though, so I count myself pretty happy with that. So anyway, normally on the podcast, or recently we've been doing news, but I haven't had time to really look up news. Although it was announced today that George Romero is going to finally get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Let's see.
Yep.
That's
the guy
created
awesome.
a whole genre, and it takes
Right.
him 50 years to get a star on the Walk of Fame.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. So that's exciting. That's
That is
awesome.
exciting.
Yeah. Okay, so Independence Day Resurgence. We're going to start by not talking about the movie and by talking about the original.
Good call.
Yeah, so Independence Day, it came out in 96. Where were you? What was your history with Independence Day?
I saw Independence Day 2 times in the theater, and the first time I saw it in the theater, it was packed. And I was 12 years old when I saw it. And it was one of the most memorable movie theater experiences as a child growing up.
Nice.
Besides Jurassic Park. And I loved every second of it when I was a kid. And like scenes where like Stephen Hillard is dragging the alien through the flats. I had this like nervous energy about me the entire time during that scene. Like, oh my God, what if it wakes up and he has to fist fight this thing in the middle of the desert? So, to me, it was just... It was exhilarating for me as a kid. I loved every second of it, and it's funny. I was a kid, so I wasn't a big movie, watcher then. I was a kid. I just watched whatever I wanted. But as I grew up, I became more of a film fan and more critical of it. And I guess I had a time, like probably around college times, where I got a little too. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, too judgmental about movies. And I probably went through a period and I was like, oh, Independence Day is just stupid.
Snobbish.
Yeah, it's very, snobbish. Yeah. And I've since grown out of that phase, and I just, going back to it, I still love it. And I want to go back and slap my, snob self and it was like, hey, lighten up.
Nice.
But yeah, it was such a huge movie in my childhood.
I will echo a lot of those sentiments. I was 10 when it came out, and that was one of that and Jurassic Park were like the two big movies of my childhood that I remember it being like a big spectacle of an event to go see it.
Sure.
So like Jurassic Park, like, oh my God, there's like the special effects look incredible. Same thing with Independence Day. It's like, I'm going to see the White House be exploded. And even a few years later when Titanic came out, that was another big tentpole movie that was big, like at the forefront of like the cultural consciousness that permeated to my young self. So with Independence Day, I've said this before on the podcast, so I won't go into much detail about it, but it was one of the first movies that I saw like a HBO first look special feature thing.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I remember them doing the interviews with Whitmore's wife, and yeah.
Oh yeah, and they showed like the behind the scenes of like the making of it, and they showed like the models that they used to blow everything up.
How they were set vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I was like,
all that.
that is amazing, and it was really exciting to go see it, and I absolutely loved the original. Like that was such an awesome experience for me. I think I enjoyed Jurassic Park more, but even like revisiting it, like I revisited it a couple nights ago or a few nights before I saw Resurgence, it was the day I saw Resurgence actually, and it's like it holds up pretty well. Like
it holds up incredibly well.
Oh yeah, like the special effects, like they're a little dated, but that's to be expected.
But 20 years ago, I still think they hold up. I mean,
Yeah?
you can. There's a couple scenes that are like green screen,
Right.
But
The dog.
the dog kills me every time.
Oh yeah. But even now, like that's something that's not like you'll check, put a check or cross it off the movie or anything, or dinging the movie for it. That's more of a look at technology.
Right,
back then.
exactly.
It was hilarious. And seeing like when I rewatched it, what I kind of came back with was that the reason why this movie worked so well and still holds up is that it has so many different elements to it. It has it's one part complete alien invasion disaster movie. It's got the kind of creature feature monster sequence when they're not dissecting dissecting the alien, or at least getting it out of the biometric suit thing. It's very like the fog in that and the kind of horror elements of that. Like, it works really well.
The slow moving of the hand.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's very terrifying. And then they have dog fighting with fighter pilots, and they have like combat scenes like that, and they have so many elements of the movie work so well because they're so not disconnected, but they're so varied in everything. And also, I was floored when they showed Area 51 in the movie when I was a kid. Yeah. I was like, that is incredible. I was
like, it's confirmed.
Exactly. And how amazing was Brent Spiner?
Oh my God, he's fantastic.
Oh, he's incredible. So everything about, or a lot of things about the original Independence Day really worked for me. Will Smith was amazing. Jeff Goldblum, Bill Pullman,
really, rocketed Will Smith into kind of his career.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, he had a career before then, but this really pushed him into superstardom.
Right. You might say it was. No, I can't make a joke. Yeah, I can't do that. I was gonna try to do something like Welcome to Earth, but I can't. I can't. That was a tough one. Yeah. But even that line is just.
I love that line.
It's so great. It's so great.
That line.
And it's
like, I could have been at a barbecue.
Right. And oh God, yeah. That movie is incredible. So now it's 20 years later, and they've made a sequel. And when in the interim between 1996 and now, Roland Emmerich hasn't had the best track record for me.
I can't think of. Okay, maybe one. I think there's probably one movie he's made since then that I've enjoyed, and I'd say that's The Patriot.
Okay, yeah, The Patriot was amazing.
I didn't see Anonymous because it didn't really appeal to me. Mm-hmm. But Godzilla, 2012, Day After Tomorrow, he has had some turds.
Absolutely, and I will say, the Day After Tomorrow, that was a guilty pleasure of mine, and it doesn't hold up. And what's more not terrifying, but more disappointing than anything is that the special effects in his movies don't hold up at all, like in any of his movies.
I would have to,
except for Independence Day.
Yeah, I haven't gone back and watched 2012. Or did you see 10,000 BC? That was dope.
One of the worst movies I've seen. Like, absolutely terrible.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Like, that was one of the only times where I was watching it and I was like, if they brought back, well, they are bringing back, but at the time I was like, if they brought back Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh, right.
Like, that is ripe for it. Oh yeah. Just, and it's funny because you mentioned Anonymous, and like you said that it didn't appeal to you, and when I saw the previews for it and everything, I think Michael Chiklis was actually on an episode of Nerdist like a year or two before Anonymous came out. No. But he was talking about how there was this whole conspiracy or mystery about William Shakespeare, and how like there was a theory that he ghost wrote, or that someone ghost wrote,
right?
Yeah, and all that stuff. And he was talking about it with such passion. I was like, that's really interesting. And then I saw, this movie's coming out about it. That really intrigues me. And then I saw Roland Emmerich, and I was like, pump the brakes. Although I was kind of intrigued because that's not his normal thing.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
And my disinterest for it had nothing to do with Roland Emmerich directing it. It was just that subject matter. It didn't really appeal to me. Mm-hmm. So,
have you heard about his next movie?
Vaguely. Something about the moon crashing into Earth.
Yep.
Is it a comedy?
No, it's called Moonfall, and it's a space.
And that's not a comedy?
Nope. Apparently not. A space crew travels to the moon after it's struck by an asteroid and is sent on a collision course with Earth.
That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
I'm not an astrophysicist, but I can pick that apart right now.
Right. I'm really looking forward to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Talking
about
that'll be amazing.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so Roland Emmerich's track record has not been that great, although he did do Stargate, which I've never seen.
Really?
But I've been very curious to see it. But
I love Stargate.
Really?
Yeah. It's been a long time, so I don't know if it would hold up for me, but when I was a kid, that was another one that was huge for me. I loved Stargate.
Nice. See, it goes through, because I feel like if I see Stargate, then I'll need to watch Stargate SG-1, Stargate Universe.
I've not seen
all the shows and everything.
I've never seen the expanded universe of anything from Stargate. I remember that movie. It was a spectacle event. I loved it. I had one of my favorite lines as a kid with Kurt Russell going, "Give my regards to King Tut, asshole." I'm like, oh, that's great.
Nice. Yeah, so anyway, so now he's back with Independence Day Resurgence. And what were your expectations going into the movie?
Before I saw the trailer, they were non-existent. I had zero expectations for it. They weren't bringing Will Smith back, and come to find out, Will Smith won $50 million to do
50
for doing 2 and 3.
Okay,
which still, it's a lot of money, especially for a property that's 20 years old.
That's true. That is more money than it made. Than Resurgence made this weekend.
Yeah,
at the box office.
Yeah, which we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So when I first heard about the project, I was like, man, it's been 20 years. It's been a long time. Then I saw the first trailer, and I'm like, you know what? That looks pretty good. And so going into the movie, I was actually genuinely excited. Nice.
I am kind of the same way. My interest was somewhat piqued when they announced it, because they announced it as 2 movies and that they were going to delve into the mythology a little more, the world a little bit more, like the universe of the movie. And I thought, you know what? Sure, because there's that scene in the first movie where the president gets his telepathic link with the alien, or he has that surge in his brain or whatever. And so I thought, okay, well, if they pick it up 20 years later, he has the after effects of that. Yeah, sure, that would be awesome. And they did touch on that and everything in the movie.
I think they more than touched on it. I think
they did. That was a big part of it.
I was going to say, that was a large portion of it.
Right. So yeah, I was kind of intrigued by that. And then that first trailer, like you said, when they reused that speech from the first movie, I was like, okay, yep, that is going to put me in the seat in opening weekend. And so this is about as good a time as any to just dive in and just give our broad, non-spoiler thoughts on Independence Day Resurgence. Given past episodes with you, I'm inclined to think that we may disagree. I'm thinking Batman v Superman. So
yeah, right. I think we're gonna have some disagreements about this.
Okay, good. So let's see. You're the guest, so why don't you go ahead and give me your thoughts on Independence Day Resurgence.
It was silly. It was ridiculous. Obviously implausible. Full of holes that I could pick apart forever. And I loved every single second of it.
Really?
I did. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie. I don't know. I walked out of that movie with a big smile on my face. It wasn't anywhere as good as the original, but you know, for me, it did what a summer blockbuster should do. It was a spectacle, a lot of big action sequences, some fun comedy, which some of it was hit, a lot of it was miss. But I enjoyed the movie. I had a good time in it.
Interesting. Very interesting. Did you see it in, I forgot to mention
I saw IMAX 3D.
Did you?
Which, you know what? I hate 3D. Before seeing this movie, the only movie I've ever seen in 3D where I actually thought enhanced it was Transformers 3.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And as you all know, I'm a big defender of the Transformers franchise, except for Extinction. And this is number 2. I felt like the IMAX and the 3D really enhanced the visuals for me.
I almost sprung for the State Museum IMAX, which is the 70 millimeter IMAX. I think that it would have been on digital projector, but it would have been a big, huge, like authentic IMAX screen.
If it had not been on a digital, I think it would have suffered.
Yeah.
Because with Batman v Superman, it suffered for me at the State Museum because it was film reel. So
okay. understandable. Yeah, so but I didn't. I saw it in 2D. And, it's... Okay, like you said, there are holes to pick apart. I'm not going to pick apart any of them, because like you said, it's a big, silly movie. And, even if you think of the original... And think about how they really defeated
Oh, sure.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. So you can't pick apart this movie, and I won't, but I was just bored.
Really?
I really was.
I don't get that.
Yeah, well, the thing was that there's a ton of new characters, which is great, but none of them really pulled me. None of them were really gripping to me.
None of them, the new characters, none of them really pulled as nearly as well as anybody from the original, except for me, and I love this character, was the African tribe chief.
He was pretty cool.
He was awesome.
He was pretty cool. He was pretty cool. A little bit underused, I think.
Very underused.
Yeah.
I wanted to see a lot more of him.
Oh yeah,
he was. Oh man, I loved him.
I liked his interactions with the Floyd guy.
Yeah,
who I'm still not sure what his deal was. He was on.
I think was he like Jeff Goldblum's like. He wasn't an assistant. He was like a wrangler, I guess.
Bureaucrat or something.
Trying to get him to.
Yeah,
that was weird.
It was weird, but I liked the interactions between him and the African warlord guy, and I liked that. But like the main, it's not even really a triangle, but Liam Hemsworth, and
Hemsworth B. He's never he was serviceable. Mm-hmm. He was not memorable.
He was perfectly within his element in this movie, really, because like the character, there's not really much.
He played Gale. He was Gale.
Yeah. He played Gale from Hunger Games in this movie, and that's kind of what the script called for. It is that type of character.
Yeah, but there was just nothing. I don't know. Exciting.
Yeah, we're supposed to root for his relationship with Maika Monroe, and I'm just like,
Yeah, I was like,
it's just like, okay, this is what the plot's telling me to care about, so I'll play along plot.
Yeah, I didn't really care for
talk shit about you on the podcast afterwards. Yeah. And then maybe it's just part of me that's maybe it's my connection to the first one that made me kind of resilient to this, but Stephen Hiller's son, his first of all, I thought that it was, I guess, bold and annoying that I guess this wouldn't really be that much of a spoiler, but Will Smith is obviously not in the movie, and their explanation for that is kind of bold. It's very definitive.
You have to explain his absence.
Yeah.
That's true. What else are you going to do?
That's true, and it is a worldwide thing.
Yeah, I think that worked. It worked for me.
Okay. It just kind of perturbed me a little bit, just as a fan of the original that they closed.
What are you gonna do? Like, where's Steven at? I was like, I haven't seen him in a couple days. Right. He was on vacation. He's probably he was on one of those islands. He's
got some PTOs stacked up over the last 20 years. He's gonna take a vacation while the aliens invade. But so those characters didn't really. I guess the one character that I kind of was on board with was the basic.
You're not talking about Liam Hemsworth's little sidekick.
The comic relief guy.
He annoyed, like his little thing with him trying to find a girlfriend. That was annoying to me.
It was, but it was also there were some lines that I like.
Like his first interaction with the Chinese pilot was funny.
That in the last one at the end, I was like, that's pretty funny. I was on board with it, and I know him from Boardwalk Empire, and it's high praise from me that he played. I've seen him in other things too, but he played a character that he was in the last season of Boardwalk Empire, and I hated that arc for the character, so I had a little bit of bias against him. But I mean, then again, I also saw him in
Boardwalk Empire, but
4 seasons are really good. The 5th, not so much. But anyway, he was also in Men, Women, and Children, the Town That Dreaded Sundown remake, the movies that aren't really that well celebrated.
Men, Women, and Children?
Yep, he was one of the children. No, he was. I think he was the character that he was Adam Sandler's son. I think. Yeah.
I've only seen the movie once.
Okay.
I love that movie, but
yeah, I liked it a lot. It was. I mean, it was one of my top movies of the year.
Yeah.
But it was also. I don't know. It hit a bit of diminishing returns when I rewatched it. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, so those like the new characters basically that comic relief character and also William Fichtner, just because I'm a fan of William Fichtner.
I like him too. It's funny. They had a prequel comic book that they released and that I read. It was short little 5-issue miniseries that takes place directly after the mothership has been brought down from the original.
Nice.
And so his character's the main character in the comic book, so you kind of get a background for him. And it's funny, they did a really good job of drawing him for the comic book. Yeah, it's spot on.
Nice.
It didn't do a whole lot to fill in the gap or anything like that. It was just kind of like a little tie-in moneymaker thing. So I read it, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, so to round out the new characters, basically, the president, Seal of War,
forgettable.
Totally forgettable. And I think that was one of the big issues I had that I didn't really realize I had with it until about halfway through the movie.
I didn't care.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
I didn't care that I didn't care, though.
Interesting.
I couldn't care less. She wasn't a big, Bill Pullman's president. He's president.
Sure.
All right, he's the president.
He is, yes. And that's true, but I don't know. I just felt like about 15, 20 minutes into it, I was like, okay, so she's the okay, why do I kind of, I don't know, because the first movie, Bill Pullman's presidency, and it's so well developed in relation to, the movie and this movie and other Roland Emmerich movies. But it's like they set up like, okay, he's a young president, he's unproven, he's brash, he's
a war hero.
Yeah, he's a war hero who hasn't proven himself in office.
Yeah.
That's like the setup for it. And then we get like, oh, this woman's president, and President Whitmore's daughter wrote her a speech. Yeah. And it's like, that's all we get, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but I don't need another hero president for the sequel. I don't know. It was a big deal in the first one because this is the first contact with aliens. Of course,
right.
The United States president's going to be a major figure in this, and so I don't know. It didn't bother me that she was forgettable.
Maybe it's just a nit that I'm picking, but it just kind of bugged me a little bit, and
I get it. I get the how it's problematic for you, but for me it didn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. And so the returning characters,
I love Jeff Goldblum
too.
stepped right back into the shoes.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Goldblum was perfect. Judd Hirsch, little ridiculous side story, but I loved it.
Yes. He was great in it. Like he was great. That side story was like
laughable, but it was fun.
And it was kind of fun, but like
fun.
It reminded me that in the first one they had all of these different characters doing these different subplots and different side stories and everything. And you cared about the characters in that movie and you cared about what they were doing. This one's like, okay, there's some kids. They found them. They found a bus. It's
I don't care about the kids. I cared about Judd Hirsch.
Yeah. But it just
his interaction with the kids was fun. Those kids they're forgettable, but hey, it was a vehicle to get him into the mix, and when he was in
literal
the mix,
vehicle because they were in a vehicle.
But it worked for me. I loved I loved when Jeff Goldblum was like, "Who is this idiot?"
Sure. That was good. Okay,
it was a ridiculous way to get him back, but it was fun for me. So.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll enjoy it more if I revisit it. So let's see, and then let's talk a little bit about the future tech. What I liked and what I was kind of, I guess I was okay with, was that it's been 20 years since the War of 1996, which I thought was kind of a lame. Like, okay,
what are you gonna call it?
I don't know. I don't know the war against I don't know.
World War One. I mean, come on. That's
well. To be fair, they called it the Great War.
Oh. War. war makes not one great.
It wasn't until they made the
Yoda.
sequel that they went back and they George Lucas. I don't know. Anyway,
let's be honest though. I don't think anyone's ever made a great name for a war.
That's
the
true.
Vietnam War,
Yeah.
the War of 1812. So there is precedent to calling it the War of the Year.
Yeah.
So I don't need them to be like the Star Spangled Battle. It's fine.
That would have been pretty cool. That would have been pretty cool.
That would have been stupid.
It would have been super, jingoistic, but it would have been really cool. But anyway,
War of 96 works.
Yeah. So my point is, there's been 20 years. And there's this line in the movie where Jeff Goldblum's like, "I spent 20 years preparing us for it, and we're not ready," or whatever. And so there's a lot of future tech, like tons of we're on the moon. We've got all of this other technology.
We have shield technology. We have weapons technology.
Yeah. And like aircraft have like hover stuff, and like stadiums have huge jumbotrons
moving jumbotrons.
Yeah,
which that's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm not complaining about it or anything. I was a little more excited at the prospect of it, of showing all the different technology, and it didn't disappoint. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I loved the new technology and how they kind of meshed Earth technology with the alien technology. If I had one gripe about that is, could we not give our airplane shields?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They have shield technology. We don't have shield technology, but that's me.
Right.
It's one of the many holes I can pick at it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I loved how it made travel to the moon like traveling to Europe. I enjoyed. We now have a space base on one of Saturn's moons. I think that's, and I love the Earth defense system.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was great.
That was cool, and there's something to be said. I loved the imagery of seeing basically like fighter jets on the moon.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
I don't know, but there's something to be said about how in the first movie, and granted, with the context of the story and the context of this universe, there's no reason to really do this. But in the first movie, one of the things that I appreciate about it was that it was us. We beat them with, well, technically
we beat them with their technology.
But it's like, we flew like our planes into their little holes and blew them up that way. R.I.P. Randy Quaid.
Legit.
The character. No, and it was cool to see that type of, the offensive from us was from like technology that we know in our military.
Well, you can't expect them to not use the. I mean, you have like 20 downed alien crafts on Earth. We're gonna use their technology,
right? Yeah, and I'm not complaining that much. I just thought that it felt a little too much like a really futuristic science fiction movie rather than Independence Day 2, if that makes sense. And it's not like it didn't ruin the movie for me. But the bland characters did.
I mean, that's how you. I feel like that's a realistic, quotation marks.
Sure.
Realistic portrayal of what would happen. I mean, our technology would burst forth decades. I mean, it would be applicable to our military, to our communications. I zero problem. That's fully what I would expect.
Okay, so. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be like, we have all this technology.
Right.
Screw it. We'll make it our own.
I think the point that I'm kind of circling around or not really articulating that well is that it felt like maybe to me the emphasis was on, hey, look at how cool everything is now. Look at all the cool like gadgets and things that we've done or that we can come up with that humanity's done in the interim between the two movies. And that came at a price of like, oh, okay, we'll also throw some characters in. We have these two in a relationship. We have this guy who doesn't like this guy who's Kraken-wise. And it's like it just seemed like there was more emphasis on the sci-fi futuristic technology rather than the
I think you have to emphasize how further civilization has come.
Yeah, and that is needed, but I felt like maybe it was at the expense of character development for me. Or maybe I'm just pinning blame on something that doesn't need to be blamed.
I don't go into movies like this expecting character study, so
See,
it doesn't bother me.
And
Now I know we've been spoiled. You know, we've been spoiled with some amazing blockbuster superhero movies that have done great things with character development.
right. You're not talking about Batman v Superman, right?
Not. Calm down, all right? Jesus. Defend that movie still. So, you know, I get it. We've had amazing character developed blockbusters. More notably, Civil War recently.
Right.
So we've been spoiled.
Right. That's also not really a fair comparison because that's like 14 movies into an established franchise.
True. So it doesn't bother me that this summer blockbuster about an alien invasion doesn't exactly rival Memento in character development.
And I'll meet you halfway there and just say that this is the sequel to a movie that had really solid character development for me. It had Jeff Goldblum's character, Bill Pullman, Judd Hirsch. It had, and Will Smith, of course. Like, they had these characters who had their own little arcs, these little quirks and everything. I just wish that there was something more that I could latch onto into the new characters in this movie, the way that I could in the original movie.
That's fair.
That's where my fault is. I'm not saying like it was.
Glad we acknowledge it as your fault.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, so the future tech was cool, but it felt like the characters weren't developed enough. I wish that humanity would have spent 20 years developing the characters rather than the technology.
To be fair, wasn't the original like 2.5 hours?
It was, and this is
2 hours.
Minutes.
So
that's true. That is a good point. Yeah, maybe we'll get the R-rated.
Stop! We get it. We disagree on Batman v Superman.
I'm so glad that I have something to rib you with now.
Besides
Interstellar. Yeah. So speaking of Interstellar,
stop.
Okay. No. So yeah. Let's see. Any other broad topics, or should we jump into spoilers? Because there's.
I would say it's probably spoiler time.
Okay. So overall thoughts on the movie, just random grade. We don't really have grades, but would you see it again? Are you going to own it?
Oh, I'm going to buy it without a doubt.
Nice.
Will I see it again in the theater? There's a lot that I still need to see, so probably not. And that's not because I wouldn't want to. I think it'd be fun to go see it again in the theater. But no, I'll buy it. That's going to be a definite buy for me.
Nice.
In fact, that'll probably get released around the same time that I'm going to be purchasing a 4K Blu-ray player, so that'll probably be one of my first 4K Blu-rays.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah. Not going to be a Blu-ray purchase for me, but I will say that
I'll say it's going to be a DVD purchase. I'm going to hit you with this microphone.
But I'm going to buy it on VHS to commemorate 1996.
Betamaxers?
No, but when it hits HBO Go, I might give it another shot.
Fair enough.
Yep. So that's it for our spoiler-free discussion of Independence Day Resurgence. Before we get to spoilers, I just want to mention a few listener feedbacks that we got about Independence Day Resurgence. So I'm just going to read these really quickly. Of course, I posted the question a little late this week, but I posted it at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer and at obsessiveviewer on Twitter. I asked, tonight we are recording our review of Independence Day Resurgence. What did everyone think of the movie? And we got 2 responses. And then I have more responses from
about accurate for how many people want to go see it this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, usually we get a lot of responses. And I'm like, it made like $40-some million.
I can't believe.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to kill, but I expected it to at least win the weekend.
It's really funny because in our summer movie challenge, Tiny named it the what he thinks would be the number one movie, or not the number one movie, but I think he did put it as number one now that I think about it. Or maybe number 2. But anyway, he put it for the bonus question. He put, what movie will have the biggest opening weekend box office?
He put
that at like $180 million. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So anyway, I threw out the question on Facebook and Twitter, and Doug from Movie Madness Podcast responded with, just got out of Independence Day Resurgence. Well, on the bright side, the Ghostbusters reboot has some competition. And he went on to say, it's the worst movie I've seen in theaters this year. Got to give Will Smith credit for passing on this.
Oh, man, one of the worst.
Yeah,
I feel like that's so harsh.
It is, but
Did he not see Ninja Turtles too?
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, I'd side more with him. And then Patrick said, Independence Day Resurgence. Oh, I actually really enjoyed this comment. Patrick said, Independence Day Resurgence. More like Independence Day Returgence. Bam. Burn. And Patrick, if you're listening, you are my best friend for life. Let's see. And then on Twitter, I got Brian Davids from Film Schlub said the odds of a third movie are slim to none at this rate because of the opening box office.
I walked out. Well, once I saw The Return, I was like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And then he went on to say the studio wisely pumped the brakes on part 2 after greenlighting both initially. So that's very comforting, I guess. Although I did hear that there was an article about Terminator Genisys might not be dead after all. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe, I don't know if the
to be fair, I've been reading the international box office, and apparently it's doing really well internationally.
Really? Independence Day?
Independence Day.
Okay.
So I guess if it makes its return internationally, I mean, let's be honest, it'll make back what it took to produce when you bring in the international market.
Yeah.
And then when you have the Blu-ray sales.
Right.
So it'll make money eventually.
Right.
But will it be enough to sustain a sequel?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Judging from the opening weekend, I don't think it's gonna. I don't think.
Which, and we'll get to it in the spoilers. Disappoints me because I want to see where it goes.
Right. We'll get into that, and then finally, Adam replied with, "It felt borderline made for TV." That being said, this was in response to one tweet I had about the. I should have talked about this in the non-spoiler, but my tweet was Independence Day Resurgence didn't do it for me. The new characters weren't interesting, and I don't feel like following them into a third movie. Okay, so he wasn't responding to what I thought.
But you know what? I don't disagree with that, but I will follow the old characters into a third movie. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about that in spoilers. But Adam said it felt borderline made for TV. That being said, I thought the alien-human hybrid tech was pretty cool, and the Queen was cool. So
I have one of my biggest nitpicks is with the Queen.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's minor, but it's. I was like,
All right. Okay, so we're going to go into spoilers, but I think first Tiny actually recorded a little segment that I'm going to play right here, and then after this we're going to go right into spoilers for Independence Day Resurgence. Or Returgence.
Stop it.
Okay.
Hello, my fellow obsessive viewerites. I apologize that I could not be there for this recording. I had to work late, I was starving, and it just didn't work out. So I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I know that you will enjoy the recording from Matt and our frequent guest, Robert Fekkes. Those guys are always really good together, and thank you to Robert for filling in. It would have been a mess otherwise. So I'm glad he was there for that. So, for my thoughts on Independence Day Resurgence, terrible title. I actually had quite a bit of fun with the movie, but I think it kind of this movie is another line in a ever-growing line of films that are sequels that are just trying way too hard. I think we mentioned it a lot last year when we talked about Jurassic World. It was just too much going on, overload in a lot of ways. We've seen it with other franchises, and I feel like this is just another example of a studio taking a franchise or a property and making a new entry in that franchise and just feeling like they have to turn every single knob all the way up to 10. Just balls to the wall in every single category. And I think it leaves a lot of audiences, myself included, dissatisfied. So I had a lot of fun with the movie, but I don't think it's very memorable. I don't think that there's any any lines like, welcome to Earth that we're going to be quoting for, 20 years from now. I don't think there was any of that in this movie. Much like Jurassic World, it just could not tap into the heart and the majesty and the charm of the original film. And that was just blatant throughout so many scenes in this movie. I think the biggest issue is that it was just way bloated. You can start with the casting, really. I think all of the casting was fairly good for this movie. Liam Hemsworth, he has very good leading man qualities. I think he's a solid actor, especially for a movie in a role like this. But Jesse Usher playing Dylan Hiller throughout the movie just got in the way of that the entire time. As an audience member, I just feel like I couldn't decide who I needed to put my faith in and who I needed to follow. Who's going to be the big hero of this? And the reason is because there were two of them, Liam Hemsworth and Jesse Usher. I don't understand. They should have either had one or the other. They shouldn't have had both. I think they tried too hard to include characters from the first film. Jeff Goldblum was a must. He just had to be in there. I think audiences love him. I love him. He's just so neurotic and goofy that it would have felt like an incomplete film without him. Honestly, I think Jeff Goldblum was more important than Will Smith, believe it or not. That's a big statement. But so they had to have Jeff Goldblum back. I'm glad they had Bill Pullman back. That was all good. But I just felt like Dylan Hiller was just unnecessary. And I'm including Vivica Fox in this as well. She was hardly in the movie anyways. I just don't see why they went through the trouble of trying to include her and a bit of basically the lowest amount of storyline they can give a character was given to Vivica Fox's character. It was really pointless. I really don't think it served anything. Dylan Hiller, played by Jesse Usher, was a very incomplete character as well, and Vivica Fox was really in the movie just to influence him, be a storyline for his character. So that was all just really superfluous, and it just didn't add anything to the movie for me, other than a name, the Hiller name. That's all it really was. And Jesse Usher wasn't particularly bad, but he had nothing to work with, so he has that to hang his hat on. But they just did nothing with that character, and he was really just in the way as far as I'm concerned. But adding to this, two of the biggest returning characters, Jeff Goldblum playing David Levinson and Bill Pullman playing President Whitmore, I thought were necessary, and not just necessary, but welcome. I was really glad that both of them made an appearance in this movie. Jeff Goldblum, like I said, neurotic, hilarious, just the way he delivers his lines. I feel like he's such a unique actor that he just sticks out in every single scene in such a satisfactory way or an exciting way. I love seeing Jeff Goldblum, and I think this is one of those roles that's career defining for him. This and Jurassic Park, of course. He's just one of those actors, and it just would not have been the same without him. Bill Pullman, I wanted him just for his presence, because there's that classic, the classic speech that he gives that just holds up so well and is a little bit hokey and kind of false, almost false patriotism, or kind of empty patriotism, but at the same time, it just gets you down in your gut and you're like, heck yeah, dude, let's go kick some alien ass. He just has that. When he delivered that speech in the first movie, he just got that presence. And so I wanted him in this movie for that, to kind of rehash that and bring those sentiments back. And damn it, he tried. Bill Pullman, I think, did a pretty good job. I appreciated his performance in this. And I like what they tried to do with the character, but I think they ultimately failed. They tried to have another moment where he kind of had a crowd form around him, and he tried to rally the troops and give the Independence Day speech, if you will. And it really fell flat. I mean, man, it did not work. And that was that was really missing from this movie. I missed that heart and that that companionship, the togetherness and cohesiveness that the first movie had. There was some of it in this, but it just didn't meet the level of the first movie. And I think the channel for that was through Bill Pullman's character as President Whitmore, and they just failed to deliver. His character was not developed well enough to meet that need. And I don't want to bring Bill Pullman down for that. I don't want to blame him for that, because I think much like Jesse Usher, he worked with what he had, and there just wasn't a lot there. And that goes to the script, which I'll talk about later. But moving on with the cast, I think another character who just was really good casting but was underused and just not used in the right way was Cella Ward, playing President Lanford. She again has a ton of presence and is a very skilled actress. I like her in her other roles, but she just wasn't really used that well in this movie. I don't understand why they even had to have the character in there, or try to make her seem like such a important character, and it just kind of have it fall by the wayside. I was a little dissatisfied with what they did with her character, but I think it's a result of the bloated cast list in this movie. I think it's a result of that. It's unfortunate. William Fichtner is just a classic. He's just a classic actor. He's a classic character actor. Everyone who sees him is like, oh, he's that one guy from Armageddon, or the guy from Prison Break, or whatever. He's the perfect character actor, and he did another great job in this. He just fills that niche role in every movie he's in, and he crushed it like he always does. I really wasn't too happy to see Judd Hirsch return, playing Julius Levinson, Jeff Goldblum's father. He was hilarious in the first movie. He did a phenomenal job in the first movie, and I think he continued a very, very good performance in this, but he just was not necessary. I think it should have been a cameo, maybe, just one or two scenes, as opposed to the several scenes we got with him. I just didn't think it was really necessary, and I just wasn't especially thrilled with his presence in the film. I'm always excited to see Brent Spiner, especially playing such a goofy character. He's one of the highlights of the original film, and I'm glad they brought him back. Again, I think they could have done a lot more with him, at least made him a more well-rounded character in this movie if it wasn't for all the bloated character development throughout it. I think they could have had some more depth to him, and he could have been... He could be an interesting character, or a more well-rounded character for the third film, which I think they're probably going to make. So I think they could have done more with him, but wasn't a huge deal. Some of the other characters, like Charlotte Gainsbourg, she played the psychiatrist in the movie, or whatever she was, I don't know. Basically a deus ex machina throughout the movie. Really kind of silly, but whatever. The African warlord guy, Deobia Opare, I have no idea if I'm saying that right. He was a cool character just because of his back and forth with the nerdy guy. Travis Tope playing Charlie Miller was not as good as Harry Connick Jr. in the original. Kind of served the same role. Very derivative, though. He was fine, kind of funny here and there, but pretty obnoxious, really. And then one of the other bigger names was Micah Monroe, playing President Whitmore's daughter. She's really charming. She's a good actress. I really appreciated her roles in It Follows and oh gosh, what was that movie? The Guest. Yeah, the two horror films that she was in. I liked her a lot more in It Follows. Again, not a whole lot for her to work with in this movie. But she's really charming, and I think she's got a lot of chops as an actress, and she's absolutely gorgeous, so that helps a lot too. So those are my thoughts on the actors. Kind of skimmed over Liam Hemsworth, but he was a pretty standard everyman or like leading man in this. I don't think anything really set him apart too much from other leading men. He was one of the least developed characters in the movie, but he was also the kind of a leading man. It was kind of weird how they did it. They had this whole thread of him being bitter about his parents dying in the first attack, and he almost killed Dylan Hiller in a training thing or whatever. It was a little convoluted and it just wasn't well rounded, just like most of the stuff in this film. So I mentioned the script. The script was really just a mess. The dialogue was most notably troublesome. There just weren't any classic lines about, I loved the dialogue scene in the first movie where David Levinson gets drunk at Area 51 and his dad comes and talks to him. That's where he gets the idea for the virus. That's a really charming scene, and it works really well, and you remember it. I don't think there was really anything like that in this movie. It felt very rushed, like they were just skipping from scene to scene to scene, and they just cut all the heart out of the dialogue. It was just so unsatisfying. There were a couple of pretty decent comedic relief moments that I'll give them credit for, but I don't think anything sticks out like the comedic relief in the first film. I would have rather had them attempt to be dark or darker in this movie than do the crappy jokes that they did. So that was, again, disappointing. So I'm kind of tearing the movie apart a little bit, but at the same time, I really had fun with this. I suspended my disbelief, which of course you have to do because, this is a big science fiction movie. It's about an alien attack that's relatively implausible. So you have to suspend your disbelief to an extent, but it just felt like so many things in the movie were just so convenient. Some things just coming along. I don't want to get into spoilers, but just things showing up that just kind of basically get explained, just explain some of the conflict, and it was just very lazy writing. That one of the aliens' shields just out of nowhere just kind of fails and just gets defeated, and then it leads to some destruction, and it's just very convenient that kind of, I don't know, that kind of stuff happened, and it's just indicative of the lazy writing that the authors used for this film, and it's a bummer because the first movie is just paced so well, and it's just such a fun action movie, and there's so much that's memorable about it. That movie holds up remarkably well for being 20 years old in almost every category. So this movie is not, Resurgence is not going to be one of those movies that I think we remember and cling to and quote and stuff like that. This is just a beyond sophomoric entry into the franchise. But if they make a third movie, I hope they get somebody good to do it. I think the biggest issue with the movie was the script, the dialogue specifically. I didn't have a big issue with the story itself, but it was very derivative of the first movie. It was very kind of a rehash to an extent, but still, they still made it their own. So I can't knock them too much for that. But I don't want to knock Roland Emmerich too much. I think he did fine. He has a visual style that I think he's kind of developing. The effects were reminiscent of 2012, which, again, not a great movie, but very visually impressive. And I think this movie nailed the visuals. I mean, there was no pixelation or lag or anything that wasn't polished to the nth degree. They really hit that out of the park, and so I give them a lot of credit for that. And I think part of that quality is Roland Emmerich as a director. So I don't see any reason why he couldn't do the third film. But I really hope they just get a better author, a better screenwriter, because this second entry, this second film, really needed a lot of work in that area. So I think the reason why I had so much fun with the movie is because there was so much that was a callback to the first movie. And I give them some credit for that. Part of it was, the casting. Again, they got some characters back, and the feel of it was sort of there. And I think all of that was just really tapped into my nostalgia. And, I love the original. I mean, I remember going to see it with my dad, 4th of July weekend, my dad and my brother. And we bought it on VHS after that, and we watched it on VHS plenty of times. And so it holds a special place in my movie-going heart, if you will. So they automatically were going to get some points from me because of that nostalgia, and bringing back the characters the way they did tapped into that, and it was a smart move because it worked for me. I had a good time with it. But I ultimately think they failed with this movie because I think it's going to feel like a placeholder eventually. I think people are going to trash it pretty good, but it's going to make some money, and so they're going to want to come back with that third movie, but they're going to realize they need to not just throw money at it and get some actual talent involved with it. And I hope that'll make for a quality third film. There's plenty of other stuff that I could have talked about. I didn't want to get into spoilers. I hope Matt and Fekkes did because, I can't be there for that. But I hope they get into some of that stuff and dig a little deeper. If I had to put a number on it, I'd probably give this a pretty solid 6, maybe like a 6.5 out of 10. It's being a little generous. I do want to see it again, just to kind of let that nostalgia wear off and really kind of dive into all the minutia and eccentricities of the movie. But that'll be sometime down the road. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Come see us next week. I will be back for that one. I will quit my job if I have to. All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
Oh my God. I spent 20 years trying to get us ready for this. We used their technology to strengthen our planet. But it won't be enough.
I see them in my dreams. They're coming back.
All right, so we are live with spoilers. Not live, but we are live. Spoilers
with
live.
Spoilers.
Yes. So, okay.
Alive like the Independence Day franchise. Boom.
that opening box office.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal. But I'll go ahead and start by saying that I should have brought this up in the non-spoiler section, but Roland Emmerich, man, he has been working for so long, and he has several movies under his belt. Why the has no one told him how to shoot a scene with a green screen? Because there were so many scenes where it was like really awkwardly, like the lighting was just awful compared to what the back screen was what the green screen, what was projected onto the green screen, and it felt just so sloppy and just crappy. Did you get any of that?
I wouldn't go as far as to say as it was as bad as you thought it was, but yeah, he's definitely hasn't perfected that craft. Right. You can say what you want for films made by Michael Bay. He knows how to shoot in that style. Yeah. Roland Emmerich, I don't know. It's nothing spectacular.
Yeah, it took me out of the movie to see them in a hangar, and see just in the background, just like something about the light, the way that their faces and heads are lit.
It was a lot of the new building areas.
Yeah,
like the new area 51 hangars, and you knew full well what you were looking at,
right? And I will say that it's improved slightly from like 10,000 BC, where that was like the most atrocious type of like experience of seeing that like horrible like green screen effects in that movie was absolutely terrible in 10,000 BC.
Yeah.
And this was a step up from that, but it still was like we have these really incredible like large scale ships and these big battles and things going on. And just those little scenes in the buildings were just really off-putting to me.
And it's weird because you have, like, with the new colony ship, I would is not really a mothership, more of a colony ship, in my opinion. The entry into the atmosphere was spectacular, and the portion where the gravity from the ship is distorting all, London, all that looked amazing.
That was really cool.
It was.
That was really cool.
It was badass. I loved it.
And that was one of my big problems with the movie, really, was that I came away from it feeling like they established this massive scale for the invasion, for the conflict of the movie. Like, this ship is massive. Like you said, it's a colony ship. The stakes are completely against humanity this time, and I felt like it didn't really deliver on that scale for me.
It's you bringing that up. White House Down, also directed by him.
Yeah.
That had some of the worst current CGI I remember seeing in the movie.
I barely even remember that movie. But
it's forgettable, but man, that's what was not forgettable was how bad the CGI was in that movie. So
yeah, he definitely has a problem with that.
Which is weird because it's what he falls back on.
Oh yeah, totally. It's like it's his bread and butter, really. Just the scale and the spectacle, but. I mean, it's just weird to me that he can create these huge effects-driven sequences that I thought were a little lacking in this movie, or at least the frequency of them were. That's what I was saying, is that the scale of the conflict didn't really match the destruction I was hoping to see. That sounds a little messed up.
You wanted that destruction porn.
I did, because that was such a big, pivotal moment in the first movie.
But we did that.
We did, yeah, and we did get some of that, but it was also like... It was just like the ship just kind of just landed and then or crashed or whatever it did.
I mean,
and then
you can't have it do the same thing. Like, okay, we're back and we're going to throw 15 ships and destroy cities again.
That's true.
So I don't have a problem with that. We had our destruction with it landing in the atmosphere. We had this 3,000-mile long ship land on Earth, and look, to me, I loved the shot of it sitting on Earth. That was badass to me.
Yeah.
So we had one major destruction scene. I don't need more of it.
Sure.
The dogfights were fantastic. The alien effects when we actually got down to the alien against human fighting was really well done.
It was really interesting to see the aliens like with weapons.
Yeah, that was great. I loved it.
And that's one thing I will give the movie a ton of credit for, was like I liked in theory, I liked the way that it expanded the mythology of this universe.
That was probably the strongest portion of the movie for me.
Yeah.
I loved how it started to delve into the mythology of the aliens, their place in intergalactic warfare, and to be honest, I want to see a prequel, and this would never happen, but I want to see like a prequel series documenting the war between the African tribes.
Yes,
and that I want to see.
That would be so cool.
I want to see
that would be so cool
right now.
They said that they'd been fighting them for 10 years.
And all the alien skull. Man, I want to see that.
That would be so cool.
I want to see a 10-part miniseries about that war.
On Netflix so that they can really push the effects. That would be really cool. That would be really, really cool.
I think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I love the backstory with that, and I would have loved to see more of that.
It may have been the strongest part of the whole movie for me.
Yeah.
Is just that. And I liked the way, like I said, I liked the way that it developed the aliens more and kind of hinted at, what they are and who they are. Because in the first movie, all we get is, they're like
aliens
locusts.
here to take our resources.
Yeah. And that was fine. That was perfectly fine in the movie.
Need.
Oh, yeah. But I like that there is also this other like machine race or whatever that came to warn us or whatever.
I loved that.
Yeah.
But one of my nitpicks is when the machine race comes, and first of all, let's be honest, that's a very smart science fiction right there.
Yeah.
One of the few smart science fictions about this movie is a race of beings that evolved to the point of biometrics and just machines.
Right.
It's something that's, to me, plausible.
Yeah, they've reached the singularity.
Right. So, okay, we have this invasion by this entity that we don't know what it is, and we shoot it out of the sky, which...
Classic humans.
Yeah, which, let's be honest, it's probably what would have happened.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So they shoot it out of the sky, and they're like, okay, we need to go check it out. No, we got to have a party first. But we don't know what this thing is, and we just shot it down. We should probably go check it out. No, get the scientists over here. We need to celebrate something.
Didn't they actually say you can do that after the celebration?
Yeah, I was like
what?
No, you would not do that.
Yeah.
You just shot down this thing.
Right.
You're celebrating the 20th anniversary of an alien invasion.
Yeah.
You have something that just invaded your moon colony. You're gonna go check that out.
Yeah.
You're like, we'll get that tomorrow. Don't worry about it. So that bothered me. I was
20 years after humanity was almost extinguished.
Right.
You've had contact with an alien piece of machinery, and you're just
that was like, we'll get it tomorrow.
That
Don't
made me
worry
roll
about
my eyes. Oh,
so,
yeah,
me too. And that's probably my biggest gripe. I was like, that's ridiculous. That would not happen.
Right.
We're going to have this party first.
Yeah. But as a concept, even though I can't really say that it's like derivative or anything like that plot line or anything, because it seems similar to, I can't really make that comparison because I haven't finished Mass Effect, I haven't finished the Expanse series, but there are elements of it that reminded me of elements of Mass Effect, where
there's a lot of Mass Effect elements that are similar. One being the machine race, another being a hive mind race.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of similarities with Mass Effect. I will give you that.
Yeah, and also the Expanse is kind of similar. Humans have contact with aliens, and it propels them
into the politics of the universe.
Right.
But I do love the fact that these assholes aren't just an assholes to us. Like, they're a problem in the galaxy.
Yeah.
These assholes are going around to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And just being total dicks.
Oh, yeah.
So I like that mythology, and I like the fact that there is a resistance against these aliens.
Yeah. And even though I didn't really like the movie at the end of the day, I was, like I said, I was bored by it. This element of world building makes me kind of wish that there would be more to it, or there would be more to this universe and more to this franchise.
Me too. Going forward. I hope, me being a comic book guy, I could hope that they do an expanded universe in comics. I think that would be neat.
Oh yeah, I would read like a full comic series if it's about the African warlords. And
me too. Without a doubt.
Conflict, because that would be so cool.
God, just knowing that 10-year battle happened to me is just awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I love another thing that I love the what do they call it, like the alien residual effect.
Yeah, something like that.
Like that. I liked that plot line. That anyone that's had the psychic connection with the aliens has got the residual lasting effects of it. And I don't know. I love that kind of mythology of it as well. And I love the fact that this tribe has started to decipher alien writings.
Yeah, the mythology, it's right there. It is cool and interesting.
The universe is ripe for a good expanded universe.
Oh, absolutely. And maybe that's just part of being a sci-fi alien series too, because Halo has the same kind of thing. I never really got into the extended universe of Halo.
I didn't either.
Any of that, but there are tons of novels that are written about the Halo universe, and I'm also thinking like Aliens, and
there's comic books,
tons of stuff,
series from Aliens and Predator, and so I don't know if there's any novelizations. I could be wrong.
For Aliens?
For Aliens.
Yeah, there is.
There? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, this type of story, this type of universe is ripe for expansion and for digging into it. And
right.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this movie at least made me really want to go back and play Mass Effect and actually finish the trilogy. Because I never did actually play Mass Effect 3. But
great game. It's a great game.
Yeah, I'm really excited to play. I have all three, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And also read The Expanse because I really like that. So yeah, this movie at least what it did was it made me want to seek out more science fiction. More than anything else, and it makes me.
You.
It did, yeah.
It's a very inspirational movie.
So, what did you think of Vivica A. Fox?
I laughed.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, she's gone. That's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
She's a doctor now.
Yeah,
Cool.
which,
All
I
right.
mean,
Good for her.
that is good for her. I was thinking that too. Yes, good for her. 20 years is a long time.
It was a long time. It's plenty of time for her to go to med school.
Totally. Yeah.
She looked good in her stripper outfit in the first one, sure.
Uh-huh.
But, no.
Yeah, and that was something. And then
That whole Vivica A. Fox portion of the film, though, I could have just done without it.
me too.
It was like, we got to get this newborn baby on there. And
Yeah.
the girls, your city is getting destroyed. And she's like, be careful with the baby. Get your ass on the helicopter.
Right.
Your baby's about to die. Just
Good
toss it
God.
in there. So it just so happens that Hillard gets there as just in time to see his mom die.
Right.
I could have if Vivica A. Fox hadn't been in the movie, I'd been fine.
Yeah, me too.
Or if they just want to have Vivica A. Fox in like a scene, which is pretty much what they did,
Right.
And just give us an update of what she's doing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I don't need the drama of him flying to see her death.
Right.
So
Well,
that was silly.
kill her off in the 20 years too, because you did enough with that. Just I don't know. That just it made me wish that I wish Will Smith was in the movie. Really,
You can't. You have to explain his absence though, and the only way
yeah.
to do it is to kill him.
That's true.
So I like that they kill him testing out alien technology.
Mm-hmm.
That's fitting for me.
Yeah,
He's the first human to ever drive an alien spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes out trying to create
right.
the hybrid alien technology. So I don't know. It works for me.
Yeah,
If you
I
can't
think
shell out the
I'm-
cash for him, then okay. Fine.
Yeah, I think I was just bummed that he was just that he wasn't in it. Just
Well, what's
yeah.
his role going to be though?
I
Because he's not going to be a fighter pilot anymore.
yeah, that's true.
He might be an instructor, something like that. But even then, he's Will Smith. He has to have a bigger role than just a flight instructor.
That's true. He could have been like a training officer for the new crop of fighter pilots when the aliens invaded, and he could whip them into.
and then get it back into a ship. And I'm okay with Will Smith not being a part of the movie.
Do you think his absence contributed to the
Yes.
poor
Yes,
box
I
office
do.
totals? Yeah.
I think if you have Will Smith back in that movie, I'd almost go as far as to say it doubles the first weekend.
I would think so too.
I'd say it
Oh,
doubles
yeah.
it.
Yep.
So,
Which
still doesn't pay for a salary though. So.
It's true. Yeah, no kidding. I think I mentioned this on an episode of the podcast recently, but after we talked about the summer movies coming out, I told my brother, I was like, hey, yeah, Independence Day is coming out with a sequel. And then he said, oh, yeah, oh, wow, cool. Is it Will Smith? The first thing he said was, is Will Smith going to be in it?
Yeah.
I'm like, nope. And then I don't think he really
It's
had
so
much interest in
hard
it.
that's 20 years ago to get you're talking about a whole new generation of moviegoers,
Right.
and you got to get them excited for Independence Day. And the first thing out of their minds probably going to be, well, why do I care?
In the direct comparison, maybe we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm going to save that for later.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's go into just the plot of like what they, the end game basically. So we've got all of these, let me see. New characters make underdeveloped. No, that's not good.
Are you
That's
trying
good.
to pun your way into
I'm
this
trying to
conversation?
a little bit, yeah. So we've got the new characters who are all, super, eager to fight and everything and super underdeveloped. We've got them doing their thing, and then there's the whole thing with the Queen and the Hive and blah, blah, blah. What'd you think of the way that the climax of the movie was portrayed?
I first of all, I liked the battle, the dogfight battle at the big colony ship. Well done. I liked the trap portion of it. I liked the fact that they were lured in and trapped, the little micro shields. I thought that was really cool. I was impressed by that. I would have liked a little bit more of the characters inside the colony ship, because that was very intriguing to me, seeing what this giant ship is all about.
I want to see Liam Hemsworth pee too.
I laughed. I thought
I did
it was
too.
funny.
I thought that was
funny.
I thought that was pretty good. I did think that was pretty good. And I could totally make a stupid comparison to another
Batman
movie.
v Superman.
Yep,
Of course you could. Yeah.
It was a good Grandma's Tea or whatever the hell that abomination of a movie had. Anyway, Liam Hemsworth peeing was cool.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I liked the little the fight trying to get to the ships there. I thought that was a little fun. And I like the throwback with Liam Hemsworth goes over there and tries to deck the alien. He's like, ah!
Yeah.
So I thought that was good.
That was cool.
But I would have liked a little bit more of that survival story inside the ship. I think that would have been beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
The Queen, another one of my nitpicky portions of it.
Yes.
I like the Queen. All right, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I like the Queen. But why, in God's name, does this Queen have a mouth with razor sharp teeth? Okay, no alien has a mouth in this, and the Queen has a carnivorous mouth. What's it eating? Because none of its subjects are eating anything. What?
Wow.
That was stupid to me. I'm like, you just made this thing like a giant dinosaur for no reason.
Wow. Yeah, I did not put that together.
Yeah, that bugged the crap. And no one has a mouth in your species except for the Queen. The Queen eats. What does the Queen eat? Because apparently they found some other means of sustenance. Not the Queen though. The Queen's gonna eat whatever the heck it wants with its razor sharp teeth.
Wow. Yeah. Is that your only problem with the Queen?
Yeah, pretty much. I like the Queen. I like the concept of the hive mind and the Queen.
Yeah.
I liked the.
It's like classic science fiction.
It really
stuff.
is.
Yeah.
I liked how the scope of how big the Queen was, and I thought it was neat how the Queen had her own personal shield. That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I kind of feel like it. Maybe this is more me wanting more destruction or whatever, but having her in the desert kind of felt a little like a wasted opportunity, really.
What are you gonna do though? Move Area 51? You're gonna.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't have a research and development military base in the middle of San Francisco.
That's true, but find a way to put her in a city, like park the ship in between.
But then you'd be arguing like, why is this Queen now destroying this building for no reason?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's fair.
I liked with the fight of the Queen. I love the portion where the ships came together to form a shield.
That was pretty
Queen.
cool.
I thought that was really neat.
That was pretty cool.
So I don't know. I liked the Queen battle. Sure, it wasn't as big of a scope as maybe you would have liked, Mr.
Yeah.
I'm going to complain about destruction porn in Superman Returns or in Superman or Man of Steel, but now I'm like, oh, I love destruction porn.
I can't really argue that point at all. Yeah. That is fair.
I liked the Queen and I liked the battle with the Queen. I thought that was a lot of fun. It was predictable though. I mean, we have I was like, oh, hope is lost. Oh, no, we forgot about these guys that just escaped from the giant alien colony. We know what's about to happen.
Yeah, and that's fine. That in itself is fine because you go in. It's the same as okay to make a non-disparaging comparison to Batman v Superman. You go in, they're going to fight. You know that they're going to be okay at the end.
Right.
Or that they're going to reconcile and everything. It's the same thing. There's going to be an invasion. The aliens are going to come. Humanity's going to be kind of down, but then, something's going to happen they're going to win.
Let's talk about Dr. Oaken for a second, because one of my biggest curiosities going into the movie was like, how is this guy still alive?
Right.
And reading up on it, apparently when they originally filmed, they were supposed to, when the Baldwin goes and checks his neck in the first one, he was supposed to say he's dead, but they never filmed that line. Huh. And I don't know why they decided not to film that line, but it didn't happen. So it kind of gives you an opportunity to bring Dr. Oaken back.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate the way that he was brought back.
Me neither. And it probably had some okay comic relief. I thought it had
a lot of good comic relief.
Yeah. I didn't think he was as fun as the first one. But then again, he was kind of, that character in the first one is so
well done.
So well done and so a product of that plot point, because I mean he's this scientist who's been like, one of the biggest joys I get out of the first one is seeing the interactions between him and Pullman, in that he is the scientist who's been, like he says, like, they don't let us out much.
Right. Yeah, I love that line.
Yeah, so great. And he's meeting the president, he's not really contextualizing it with being like, oh, humanity's about to die.
Right, yeah.
Like, the president just found out that aliens are here. I've been working on this thing since, for as long as, since I was out of college or whenever he was hired on or whatever. And it's just like, that was one of the big selling points for that part in the first movie. And they did some good comic relief with him in this movie, but it just didn't match that energy. And not that it really had a chance to match that energy. It felt like, it felt cool to see him, but also like, okay, do we, I think he isn't the standout though.
But he's needed back. Maybe he's not needed back, but right. It's good to have him back.
Yeah.
And there's really good jokes with him for me, especially the death scene with his friend, where his friend's like, it was supposed to be a sweater. I was like, of course that wasn't his line, that was his buddy's line, but I thought that was good.
That was okay, yeah.
And the stuff with the laser was good too. So I don't know. Sure. I like Dr. Oken. For me, it was just a pleasure to see him back, and I was curious to see how or why he was back. To be honest,
right?
So.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and I liked how he made sure his hair was still there when he woke up from his coma. So.
Yeah, that was good.
The one little nitpicky gripe again I have on Dr. Oken is he's been in a coma for 20 years. And then when they're talking about RFI signals, he goes, every piece of technology has an RFI signal. That phone that you keep everywhere you go. It's like, you don't know how important phones are in our society, Dr. Oken.
I did not
You've been asleep for 20 years. You do not know what our phones can do. Dr. Oken.
That is great.
So
man, that would have been such a wasted opportunity. Like he could have said everything has an RF signal. Your car phone has an RF signal.
Yeah, that would
have been so cool.
Yeah. But apparently Dr. Oken just knows that we all have iPhones now.
Yeah.
So again, a little nitpicky about that, but whatever. Like I said, I could sit there and drill holes in the plot all day long. But in the end, I had fun with it.
Sure, yeah, I can do the same, but I didn't have as much fun.
Fair.
So I won't. What did you think? And this can kind of be our kind of wrap up for it. What did you think of Bill Pullman's arc and the way he was handled at the end?
His arc, I thought, especially the starting point of Bill Pullman, I loved. I love the effects of the alien residual effect, or whatever they call it in the movie. I love how it affects him now, 20 years later, and I liked how, he's kind of a crazy guy, but it's because of the effects of what happened to him, and now he has this intimate knowledge about what is to come as well.
Right.
So I like that aspect of it. I love, or maybe not love, I like how he's the one that's going to drive the payload into the mothership. What I thought was unnecessary was the little back and forth he did with his daughter about. Yeah, that was unnecessary.
Yeah,
it's like let your dad do it.
Right. Okay. It was in.
They had to just like, oh, I'm sorry. Like his aide had to be the one to like, I need to talk to you back here for a second. Go, President Whitmore. that was silly. Okay,
yeah,
that was an unnecessary portion of it. Daughter should just come to grips with the fact, and then get into the plane and help protect him for the payload.
I liked that she assisted him and everything. I thought that his send off, his death scene was a little. I thought it was not. I wouldn't go so far as to say unceremonious, because it was set up well, it was built up and everything. It just felt like
it was no bad.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I get that, but it was satisfying to me.
Okay.
And I'm glad it wasn't the end all. I'm glad that the Queen survived that attack.
Sure, and I think part of my resistance to that is that maybe that's part of it, is that
it didn't end.
It kind of felt like, okay, well, that wasn't the end game. That kind of not worthless, but it was kind of like, okay, who's the real hero here?
It does occur to me too that in the time of our technology and what they've developed with theirs, they probably could have had a drone do that. Right.
Yeah. Although maybe maybe I'm giving way too much credit, but maybe after the war of 1996,
or intergalactic battle throwdown,
right? The Star Spangled Battle.
Yep.
After that,
Copyright
they did say
Robert Fekkes.
Right. After that, they did say that there was a long, like 20 years of world peace, basically. So maybe they didn't need to. They
would still
technology.
develop that kind of technology though,
Yeah,
because they
that's a good
developed.
Now that I said that out loud,
defense,
yeah,
they would.
that's
develop
true.
that.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Don't be an idiot, Matt.
I can see them saying like, okay, well, yeah, Randy Quaid went in, kamikazed himself.
Right, it's like we might have this technology.
Maybe we should do a remote control thing, or maybe we should find some more Randy Quaids.
You know what? Randy Quaid, given his personal state right now, probably still thinks he did that.
Right. Seriously. Yeah. Let's see. Are there any other things that we should talk about? There's some other
moon,
things.
The moon portion of it, I really enjoyed the destruction on the moon. Not necessarily the one shot you're dead moon base, but them picking up the. I guess the alien orb technology. I think they called it like the sphere or something in the credits. But I like the destruction on the moon with that, with them trying to get out, and also like the fact that they have a debris field from the original mothership.
That was cool.
Was fun.
That was a nice touch.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so
one confusing thing to me though. When the sphere technology comes and they say you see the wormhole and it's kind of doing the distortion of gravity, they see the same distortion of gravity over on the Saturn moon. I assume that's a wormhole created by the bad aliens,
the mothership thing, the colony ship
destroys the base on Saturn's moon.
Yeah,
I think that's what they were getting.
I think that's spot on.
Right.
That's what I gathered from it.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't really seem that upset about losing an entire
I think
moon base.
I think it was unmanned.
Oh, okay. So that's where all the drones are.
Yes. I do like how that sphere had zero faith, and I was like, look,
Right.
this is the shit to get some of you guys off of this, all right?
Right.
The rest of you are screwed.
Yeah. It was
Like,
it was humbling.
Did you not see the World 96
Right.
sphere? You can handle this.
That's true. With regarding Pullman and President Whitmore, I did like the scene where he goes up and he like at the state. I think it was the State of the Union or the address for.
It was the ceremony.
Ceremony, yeah. I love that he came up and he's warning everyone. I was just thinking think about okay, say Obama is at the podium and he's talking about something, and then suddenly George W. Bush comes up and is like, hey, guys, we need to prepare or whatever. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing.
I liked Robert Loggia being there for a split second before his passing, but
right.
So that was neat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he passed away, didn't he?
He did.
Wow.
Huh. I always think back to the
Family Guy.
Family Guy.
Yes.
Loggia.
Oh, that's his legacy.
Oh, Robert Loggia. I am
right.
Robert Loggia.
Oh, as in, oh my God, it's Robert Loggia. So funny. Okay, so, I guess that can basically bring us to the end of our review. I want to mention, though, to you, Fekkes, do you think that... Okay, so Will Smith, we talked about it before, and then I kind of pushed it aside, but Will Smith not being in it hurt the box office
return. I don't think it hurt the film itself.
Okay,
personally.
And so, as you mentioned, they had the task of bringing in a new generation of an audience into this franchise, and also appealing to the us who grew up watching it. Do you think that the difference between, I think the more direct comparison would be Jurassic World and this, do you think that this movie would have benefited from a Chris Pratt-like presence? Because Liam Hemsworth, I don't think he can... He's not
a leading man yet. I mean, he might be there one day. I don't know. But I think it would have. I think if you would have had a bigger named actor take charge of one of these roles, I think you probably would have brought some more box office return.
Right.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen. You had a lot of B-list people. You know what? They have to spend their money some places, and they have to be frugal others. So,
yep.
I think it suffered for it in the box office, but
and it was also released a week before Independence Day.
Well, here's my my theory on that.
Yeah.
So Independence Day is a holiday, obviously. Probably not the biggest movie going holiday. So if you release it on Independence Day, you're not going to get there. You're probably not expecting to get the draw to the movies of a normal summer weekend.
Sure.
So I could see them thinking, okay, we'll release it a week prior. We'll get the big audience for the first weekend, and then the nostalgic sake, we'll probably get some more people to go see it on the 4th of July because it is Independence Day too.
Sure.
So I'm not saying that's what their thought process was, but if that were, I could see that making sense.
That does make sense. That does make sense, and I'm sure they were banking on word of mouth and stuff like that. So yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Lasting thoughts, though, I will say this with because the end of the movie kind of jumps like, hey, look, this sphere technology wants us to lead the resistance.
They were a bit cocky.
Good. I am for that. I want to see humanity jump into the intergalactic war for this.
Do you think that would fit in this universe? Judging from the first two movies,
I think it makes it a completely different film than any of the other two.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about space opera,
right? Yeah.
So, but I'm down. I want to see that.
Interesting. Would you want to see Roland Emmerich tackle it?
No, but who else is going to do it?
Well, if you're talking about interstellar travel,
shut up.
Oh, I had to. Anyway, that'll do it for this review. Then, maybe I'll revisit it. I mean, talking it out has made me appreciate it a little bit more, but I still just was left not really feeling like it was anything too impressive for me.
That's fair.
So yeah, so we'll see if I revisit it eventually, but I wouldn't even say I was really disappointed by it. I was just kind of unaffected by it. I was kind of just bored by it, really.
I left the theater with a giant smile on my face. I enjoyed it. So
that's fair. All right, so that's our review of Independence Day Resurgence, and we're going to switch over to Potpourri, which is, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, Potpourri is the section of the podcast where we talk about whatever we want, as long as it smells good, basically anything we've watched, anything we're looking forward to, anything of that nature related to the movie and TV subject, really. That is the premise of the entire podcast. So, Fekkes, I have a couple things. Would you mind if you have one thing?
Yeah, I have the one thing.
Okay, so I'll do one, you do one, and then I'll round us out for one.
That sounds perfect.
Okay, so this is more anecdotal than anything, but I turned 30 on Sunday.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I was, fishing for that. No.
I believe I posted on your Facebook wall.
You did.
A nice shirtless photo of Ron Jeremy.
Yes, you did. That was
You're welcome.
I didn't say thank you, but no, that was very nice. But it was foot in my mouth. It was something. But so anyway, if you heard the podcast, like I think it was a year and a half ago when I moved into my apartment, I kind of put my foot in my mouth on the podcast saying that, like, I broke in my new apartment by watching Shawshank Redemption, and that was kind of a weird thing because it's about a guy who was in prison for several decades and then broke free. And it's like, now I have my own apartment after living with my parents for I broke free. So, before I turned 30, like the night before I turned 30, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch a movie, to round out my 20s.
Wild animal.
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah. Which also, it's funny because then on my actual birthday, I went to my sister's and her little son, Gavin, my nephew. Did you see my Facebook post?
Did.
Yeah,
you're 40.
Yeah, he's like, Matt, you're 40, and I'm like, no, I'm 30. And he's like, no, you're 40, and I'm like, oh, okay, Santa Claus isn't real. I didn't really say that to him. I'm saving that for his 5th birthday.
It's a good idea.
But anyway, so to commemorate my turning 30, I spent 20 minutes looking for a movie to watch.
It's got to be special.
Yeah, that I felt would be kind of special. And I finally was like, you know what? I'm gonna just take a bunch of movies off my shelf. I'm gonna put them on like my counter, and it's gonna be like all like the movies that I love from like my childhood and everything. And I'm gonna pick one. So I watched Jurassic Park.
Good choice.
Great choice. Holds up really well. It wasn't until about like maybe 3/4 through the way through it, I was like, I didn't really think this, but like I thought it was kind of funny that as I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is a dream about a guy whose sole hope and dream in his life is dying before him. So that was a nice way to usher in my 30s.
Good, parallel there.
Yeah, nice read on it. So I thought that was my anecdote for me turning 30 and watching a movie that threw me into an existential crisis for a couple hours.
5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So, Fekkes, what do you have for Potpourri?
Well, this past week, I went to go see The Lobster up at Keystone. And anyone that doesn't know, it's an independent film. It's about a man who recently had his wife leave him, and in this kind of dystopic universe, you have to be paired with somebody. You have to have a companion, and he has to go to this resort where he has 30 days to, or is it 45? Maybe it's 45 days.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it yet.
It's either 30 or 45 days to find a companion, and if he doesn't find one, they turn him into an animal of his choice. And his choice is a lobster because his reasoning in the movie is because they live a long time and can fornicate for as long as they're alive. Male lobsters can. So it has Colin Farrell in it, and I like Colin Farrell, and the subject matter was unique enough I thought it would be really a fun little black comedy or dark comedy, and I just could not get into it.
Really? Oh, that's a shame.
I was very disappointed in it, and it might be, it got rave reviews too.
Right.
But part of it is it felt like I'm not a Wes Anderson film, and this felt like an uber Wes Anderson film. So, and like the interactions with the characters, there's a couple good funny moments that had me chuckling, and I go through the movie, and at the end of it, I'm like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, it's not very funny to me.
Oh, that's too bad.
But that's just me. A lot of people were raving about it. Rachel Weisz is in it, and I love Rachel Weisz. And for what she does a good job, and Colin Farrell does a good job too. It's just I couldn't get into the movie. And it's funny, walking out of it, my wife Cassie is kind of like, I don't know how I feel about it. Halfway between the theater and home, she's like, I don't think I liked it. The next day, I'm at work, and I get this text, and she goes, I think I changed my mind. I think I liked it. And I'm like, are you sure?
Interesting.
I think the way she put it was like, this is my final answer. I liked it. And I'm like, and she goes, I may not some other time. And I'm like, well, then it's not your final answer. But I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I see what they were trying to say, and I get how they were trying to be quirky about it. I just couldn't get behind it.
Do you think that you will flip-flop?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think it's just too much like a Wes Anderson film for me, and I don't get into that kind of filmmaking.
That's understandable. Yeah. It's a style thing.
It is very much a style thing, and I don't know, this might be a little crass, but I felt like the interaction of the characters, I was watching everyone was suffering from Asperger's syndrome.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it just... Like I said, there's a few funny moments in it, good couple funny lines, but for the most part, it did not hold my interest. Yeah.
That's a bummer. I've been really pretty eager to see this movie.
It might, you might love it.
I might. I don't know if I'll make it to the theater to see it. I haven't been to Keystone Art in a long time, and ever since I got Movie Pass, I haven't been able to. It doesn't qualify for that, but I love that theater so much. Though
it is a great theater.
It's such a great theater.
There is a preview for a movie coming out though that I saw there that I'm really excited about. Mr. Fantastic, or is it Captain Fantastic? Viggo Mortensen's in it.
I don't think I've heard of this.
Oh, it looks really good. He plays him, and his wife and his kids live out in the middle of like the woods. One of those kind of guys that are like. Distance himself from like modern society.
Sure.
So he's raising his children on, in the woods, on the land. wife has to go for a medical procedure, ends up dying, and so he has to bring the family back for the funeral, and the grandparents are trying to get custody of the children. It looks like a really kind of like a whimsical, kind of fun movie with the serious undertones. But it's Captain Fantastic.
Captain Fantastic.
I'm curious to see that. I think it looks really good.
Interesting. That sounds very, very interesting. I'll have to check that out.
And Viggo Mortensen's one of those guys that he's very selective about what he does, and for good reason, because I usually really enjoy his movies.
Oh, yeah, totally. Oh, it's also got Georgia McKay, who was in, I believe he was in 11/22/63. Yeah, he was a character in 11/22/63. I wasn't too crazy about his performance in that, but anyway, yeah, that sounds interesting. Nice. Okay, so I'll go ahead and round us out with my final potpourri, which is something. It's funny because I had this primed for this episode, thinking that Tiny would be here because we already talked about it a little bit, but I saw Central Intelligence.
Curious.
Yeah, it. I thought that the chemistry between The Rock and Kevin Hart was on point. I thought that they had really good chemistry. I like The Rock as an actor. I like The Rock as a comedic actor.
I like The Rock as a human being.
Oh, yeah.
He's an amazing guy.
Oh, yeah. And I want to like Kevin Hart so much.
I'm done.
Yeah. It's just, he hasn't, I think I said this to you in a text, but he hasn't risen, or he hasn't really, reached a point. He hasn't really lived up to that one scene he was in
right.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
And we talked about that too, because I love that scene, 40-Year-Old Virgin.
So great,
but
so great.
There's been nothing I've seen with him that I enjoyed.
Yeah, he has a stand-up concert film coming up in October, I think. Yeah, and I kind of want to see that because I've never seen any of his stand-up. I know some of it's on Netflix.
It's amusing.
Is it?
It's better than his films.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's not really saying much. I haven't really sought out much of his movies, really. I've just heard reputation-wise.
Yeah.
Like the one he did with Will Ferrell recently.
Hard. Get Hard.
Get Hard.
I didn't see it. It's actually I recorded it on HBO. Haven't watched it yet, but. Maybe hoping Will Ferrell can save him in that one, but I doubt. I haven't heard great things about it.
Right, neither have I. And this is kind of, I mean, I don't know. So anyway, Central Intelligence. I like the chemistry that they have. The Rock and Kevin Hart. It has there's a nice setup. It's a unique dynamic, and they have good on-screen chemistry. But the script was just not there for them. The humor didn't really land with me in a lot of places. The plot elements, I didn't really care about the mystery at the center of it because it's about, to put it in simple terms, basically The Rock is a CIA agent and he needs Kevin Hart, who he went to high school with, to crack a web of financial transactions or something because Kevin Hart's an accountant. So in the movie, Kevin Hart in high school, he was like the track star, the homecoming king. He was like everyone. He was like the most well liked, to much comedic effect. Like the principal introduces him at an assembly or something in front of the whole senior class, saying I love this kid. He's the best thing that's ever happened to my life. And it's really playing up that. And to contrast that, The Rock was this really heavy kid who was picked on a lot, and there's a big scene where he's bullied, and that carries through his arc throughout the rest of the movie. And it's an interesting setup and an interesting dynamic because The Rock is this obviously he's The Rock now, so there's this big change, and it's on the eve of their 20-year high school reunion, and this is when they're first meeting up again, and it's this weird thing about The Rock's characters. He's this really quirky, almost emotionally unstable guy who has these flashes to his bullied days and everything, and he has this kind of running gag where it's he doesn't like bullies, so he a guy in a bar kind of gives Kevin Hart some crap, and then The Rock just beats the hell out of him and his whole group. So there's some interesting elements to it. So it's not like The Rock is just super CIA guy, right? And Kevin Hart's the normal, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Fish out of water.
Yeah, the fish out of water kind of straight man of the thing, of the dynamic. It's like The Rock is this emotionally unstable guy who is super psyched to be hanging out with the coolest kid in school 20 years after graduating high school.
See, the concept sounds fun.
And that is really, and that's really cool, and that's a really strong setup, but the script didn't do much to it, didn't do much for it, and there was a lot of just gags that just fell flat and just didn't really do it for me.
That's a shame.
Yeah, and there were a couple things. Like, one, this isn't necessarily it's so dumb. I don't know if this is a direct reference to Archer, but there is like a gag that happens that Kevin Hart is trying to contact The Rock, and it's like a gag that's right out, like a running gag in all of Archer, all like 6 or 7 seasons of Archer.
Robbie. That's that gag? Like the Lana?
No.
Okay.
No. It's the voicemail gag, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like they do that, and it's like, are they doing that because it's funny in Archer? Like, I don't, like, it's very close to, I don't know. That's a nitpick and everything, but there was another thing that's like, it's like there's a character who who's played by an actor who I don't want to give it away, but he's played by an actor who has certain things in his career that he can be identified from. Like, he's not typecast as a certain thing, but he has, like, the biggest role of his career is, like, the role that defined his career is not in Central Intelligence, obviously. It's from the recent present. But he says a line that's from that thing that he's in. I'm being very vague and it's very confusing, but he basically says a catchphrase from another movie or another show that he's in, and it's like, okay, the only reason, like, there's no reason.
Right,
it's really just
one gimmick joke.
Yeah, it's super gimmicky and it's really awkward. And as soon as we see as soon as we see a bit of his backstory, a bit of The Rock's backstory and everything, it's like it telegraphs the whole plot, really.
Yeah.
Because that actor is so recognizable, it's like, okay, well, the way that they're showing this actor, this is kind of getting into spoilers, but the way that they're showing this actor is like, okay, well, there's no way that that's the only way that we're going to see the actor, because it's ridiculous. So, I don't know. So, it didn't really do much for me, and I still kind of hold out hope that Kevin Hart will maybe do something that I'll connect
he would
with.
really have to do something huge for me to turn my opinion of him. Like, I'm sure he's a great guy. I just don't care for his stuff.
Yeah.
Right along.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've never really seen any of his movies. I just know that they're not really something that I would go for.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, as much as I want to like him, I don't want to like him enough to go see a movie that he's in
Right, yeah.
until like several weeks after it's been in a theater.
That's an hour and a half of time you don't want to invest into something that you're going to forget.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, that was my experience with Central Intelligence. Next week on the podcast, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I think me and Tiny are going to do a bonus episode of Game of Thrones Season 6. So, Fekkes, if you want to be on that, you can. We might record on, like, Thursday.
Next Thursday?
This week.
Oh, like day after tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I got to work.
Oh, okay, damn. But it all depends on whether he sees it or not. So I'll keep you in the loop because we might record it next week.
Has he not seen it yet?
He
how
said,
can he get away?
I know.
How can he be on the internet?
Right? I have no idea. He was like, I still haven't seen it yet, but if I watch it tonight, we can record Thursday.
No.
I'm like, how? Like,
the internet blew up.
Yeah.
How
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How does he function?
Right. I was just like, I stayed up until like past my bedtime on, like, before I had to go, like, the Monday morning. I had to go into work to do actual work, like a real job. Like, I stayed up late just to see it so I wouldn't get spoiled.
You could have some guy just in passing say something like,
yeah, exactly.
flipping a marble, go, I can't believe this and this happened. You're like, I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah. And I work in an office now, so it's like that's something I need to be conscious of.
Legit water cooler moments.
Oh yeah, exactly. like I was walking out of the building with my former coworker Alex, and I was talking to her. I was like, "Yeah, Game of Thrones, that was amazing, right?" And then she's like, "Yeah, totally." And then she's like, "I don't know if I liked it as much as Battle of the Bastards." Because we watched both before together when we watched the finale, and then like as we're leaving, like just some random woman in the building like left and was like, "Oh, Battle of the Bastards was better, or the finale was better, or something like that." So she knew exactly what we were talking about. It's like, this is, you can't just
Tiny,
miss it.
man.
Come on, Tiny.
Yeah, get on
the
the
time
boat.
of this recording. This is what, Tuesday, Wednesday.
This is Tuesday.
This is Tuesday. Oh, this is Tuesday.
Only Tuesday.
Only
Internet
Tuesday.
time. It's been a
Oh, it is.
year.
I'm just talking about work. I'm exhausted. Yeah. So anyway. Yeah, that'll do it for this week of the Obsessive Viewer podcast. I got something in my eye. Thank you, Fekkes, for filling in for Tiny and
Thank
being
you for
a guest.
having me.
Yes, of course, and we'll have to have you back soon for something. I don't know. Is there anything on the radar that you'd want to come back for?
Suicide Squad, maybe.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, we'll pencil you in. That yeah. Oh, Ghostbusters also.
No.
Are you not going to see it?
I don't know.
You're a misogynist?
That's exactly what it is. You know what? I had this discussion over the weekend with somebody, and it's not the fact that they're all girls. It's the fact that it looks like Melissa McCarthy's Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I couldn't be less enthused about the every preview I've seen. It looks god-awful.
Yeah, I will say the thing that I am most intrigued about is I think the special effects look cool.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do look good. But that's not going to save the Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters original movie, the special effects are god-awful, but man, is it a good movie. Mm-hmm. And I also had this other discussion because there's, similar topics. Ocean's 11's kind of getting a female all-cast reboot.
Oh, yeah.
And the people they've cast so far, I'm into it. And I'm so terrified that they're going to be like, oh, and now Melissa McCarthy's on it. And then I'm be like, nope, I'm done.
Ugh.
Sorry. So I'm not a misogynist. I just dislike Melissa McCarthy in her comedy.
You're a Melissa
McCarthyist. McCarthyist.
You're a McCarthyist. Jesus. Okay, so on that note, we're going to end this episode. Thanks again for listening, for everyone listening, and Fekkes, thanks for joining me. And yeah, have a good and safe 4th of July. So that'll timestamp this episode.
Don't blow your hand off.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks for listening, guys, and see you next week.
Off topic, have you ever, did you know that for recruits for NASA scientists, they show them a viewing of Armageddon, and they have to, after the movie, they have to write down all the inaccuracies.
Really?
And it's like an ongoing contest for new recruits into NASA.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that makes me laugh.
That's so great. There was a thing that was tweeted. It was just a clip from Armageddon. That was the audio of Ben Affleck's his commentary track on it. And it is like, it makes me want to go find that and watch the commentary because it's hilarious.
Isn't he like asking like Michael Bay is like, wouldn't it make more sense? And he's like, shut the up.
He's like, shut up, Ben, shut up, just shut up. And like he's talking about, he's just basically ripping apart the entire plot. He's saying like, yeah,
easier to teach astronauts to drill than it would be to teach these drill people how to astronaut.
It's like, it can't be that hard. You just find a place, put it in the ground, and then press on and drill.
No, you need Bruce Willis.
So great. But yeah, so Roland Emmerich.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast app. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. You can email the hosts individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at ObsessiveViewer.com, or send an email to the podcast in general at podcast@ObsessiveViewer.com. Check out the Obsessive Viewer blog at ObsessiveViewer.com, where we post movie and TV reviews and the occasional editorial about the business of entertainment. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer and follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer, at ObsessiveTiny, and at IamMikeWhite. If you want more obsessive content in your life, check out our sister site, obsessivebooknerd.com, for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the podcatcher of your choice. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.